Everybody, so you often hear me all the time banging on about security and the defence forces and the defence of the state. Now, this is a fellow who was the Minister for Defence for Goodwise the Taoiseach now. Simon Howe's the Minister of Defence, not much addition. Simon Howe's either. You're pretty much replacing one with the other. That's pretty much one and the same. None of them are any good. But it's funny now, and this is the man that doesn't believe in the backwoods looking idea with sovereignty, just to remember. Keep that in mind. A backward looking idea with sovereignty. We want nothing to do with it. He wants a European Union. He wants a European army. He said it before. He wants Ireland to join NATO. So he doesn't believe in Ireland should have its own defence forces, pretty much. I can read his mind, he pretty much doesn't. There's no actions. Only now, he's saying now that Ireland is kind of spending more on defence, etc., etc. But before that, he never cared about Ireland's defence. For years, and I would really say it's blatant ignorance, that for years there was underfunded the Defence Force, and we see the consequences now. The Army should have, and the Navy and the Air Corps, the total strength of the Irish Defence Forces in total should be 15,000. That's what the government's own report have said, should be 15,000. It is only 6,000. So it's plainly obvious that the government, for the last few years, particularly Fianna Fáil, because Fianna Fáil's been government, and Fine Gael, the two of them are one and the same. There's not much addition between the two of them. But it's blissfully obvious they don't care about Ireland. They just want us to be part of a European army. They want us to be part of NATO. They jumped up and down about joining NATO a long time. Like when the Ukraine thing happened 3 years ago, they jumped up and down about joining NATO. And obviously the Irish people are formally in place with neutrality. The majority, I nearly would say the one issue that unites everybody in the country, nearly 90% of the Irish public, is that they don't want to join NATO and they want to keep their neutrality. The Irish people, and the same with myself. But he goes on and on and on and on. And obviously the main issues for Ireland's security is the Atlantic Ocean, particularly Irish territorial waters, particularly underground sea cables. We've seen the Baltic Sea recently where many cables were damaged, but ships, etc. That's a huge issue for Ireland because there's so much. Over 80% of the world's cables come through Ireland, the Irish territorial waters, because the United States is the first country in Europe, but the cables come through from the Atlantic. And obviously we only have one ship that doesn't have guns working on them. So that really tells you all you need to know about that. But that's the main issue, along with cyber security and spies and stuff. Not so much a physical risk in terms of a country where invaders. There's not that risk at the moment here, the state. It's more the cyber, because again, the Irish intelligence office is only about 2 people that are in the pub all the time. That's about it. And they're too busy going around after people that misgender people. That's what the Irish intelligence office is pretty much doing. People that are questioning the government. That's pretty much what they're doing. Where they should be going after terrorists and stuff like that. People that are a threat to Irish national security. But again, nothing to do with sovereignty. A backwards looking idea of sovereignty, Micheál Martin said. So I don't know what's the agenda here. But we've seen with J.D. Vata's speech in Munich the other day, and particularly Zelensky saying about the European army. Obviously, he said he didn't say much about it. He said he didn't agree with it. But let's be fair, he does agree with it because he doesn't believe in Irish sovereignty. And I think the one thing for being sovereign, you have your right to defend yourself. You have an army to defend yourself. That's what my ideal of sovereignty is, that you have the means to defend yourself. And I just want to put this in perspective, because this is the fellow that's the Taoiseach at the moment, former Minister of Defence. Probably will be the Minister for Defence after Simon Howe takes over in 2027. It could be 2028, sorry, I might be wrong on that. But he most likely be the Minister for Defence again, if he is still there. And Simon Howes is not much tradition. He doesn't believe probably in Irish sovereignty either. But I just want to compare that to the former Finnish Prime Minister, Sanna Marin. And again, particularly, she says a lot. And again, I agree with everything. The majority of people do agree with it. Imagine that, Micheál Martin every tweet. People are literally giving them dogs abuse. But a lot of people agree with Sanna Marin. And she's right. She is totally right in what she's saying. And it literally is what I've been saying too. Because people have been asking me why I bang on about defence, is that we're literally defenceless. Like, we are literally defenceless. As defenceless as can get. And neutrality doesn't mean we don't have an army and a navy. Because, again, that didn't protect Denmark. It didn't protect Norway. It didn't protect the Netherlands, Belgium during the Second World War. Or even Finland, take for example, in the Winter War. Finland was a neutral country and the Soviet Union invaded it for Karelia, etc., etc. So there's only neutrality when you have a means to defend yourself too, because just declaring yourself neutral, you need something to back it up, being neutral, and you need a proper army and first of all paying the troops a proper decent wage, and that's the most important thing, whatever about anything else. But anyway, but as she says, but Zelensky's proposal is unrealistic, and she thinks it's unrealistic, and for a common thread, and this is the next thing. She said it in Dublin too, and I've said it before, but just the comparisons with the current Irish Taoiseach, he doesn't give a shit about the Irish Defence Force. He doesn't give a shit. I never heard him saying about we need to defend ourselves and stuff like NATO will do it and stuff like that. That's what he's always been saying. Oh, we need NATO to do it. England can do it. Everybody else can defend Ireland, but we're not going to defend ourselves. And it's most important. But again, it is unrealistic because we're giving up our sovereignty, our armed forces. Michael Collins, if we did do it, Michael Collins would turn in his grave because the Irish Free State Army, he was the first leader of the Irish Free State Army, the first general of the Irish Free State Army, which is now the Irish Army. So he would turn in his grave to see that the army that he started in 1920, just after the War of Independence in Ireland, during the Civil War, he would turn in his grave if he seen that we were getting rid of the Irish Army and just having the European Army. He would turn in his grave if he seen that. Not only that, too, the men and women who served with our defence forces back years ago, back before, over the years, let's put it that way, they always fought over the flag and served under the flag of the Irish Republic. They were not so, and I'm sure the majority of Irish people that serve in the defence forces now will not serve under the European flag. They would serve under the Irish flag because it's their homeland. They're fighting for their homeland and defending our homeland. It's not the European Union. I'm sure if you ask them, they're taking oath of allegiance to Ireland, not to the European Union. Let's put it that way. But she's right in saying it's unrealistic. And particularly this, we can no longer rely on other people to come to our aid. And it's the truth, because again, we can't be going, if Ireland was, God forbid, attacked in the morning, we can't be going to England or to America to say, come and defend us. We should be able to defend ourselves. And again, this is the most important thing. And I've said this constantly, and this is literally bang on. I have to say, Sandra must be listening to me a bit, because it's the exact thing I've been saying over and over again. We need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And it's this comment alone that just tells you all you need to know about Sanna Maher and why I have huge respect for this woman. Because it's just exactly the same thought in my mind too. What I've been constantly saying, that we need a strong army, we need a strong navy, because we need to defend ourselves. We need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. As an independent, sovereign, free state, as an Irish free state, we should be able to stand on our own 2 feet. We fought for independence for 800 years. We should have the means in 2025 to stand on our own 2 feet, to defend our shores, to defend our island. We should have it. We should have a good navy that's able to defend our coastline, make sure that everything's alright on our coast. We should be able to defend ourselves from the air and on the ground. But at the moment we can't do any. Simple as we can't do any. And why did we fight 800 years for the British to have to look after our skies? Because the RAF police our skies. Why did we fight 800 years just to ask the British to defend ourselves again, to defend our state? Because we, as I say, and this is the truth, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, as a country, as a nation, to defend ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it's our nation, it's our people, it's our sovereignty. It's up to us to defend that. And Sanna Maher is 100% right. Now, compare this with him, backwards looking at your sovereignty. He's never made any statement, like you never heard here, that we need to be ready to defend it if anything ever came to threaten our sovereignty. Nothing like that. Like, he never said we need to be ready if anything ever did come, that we'd be able to defend ourselves and defend our sovereignty and our history and our culture. But nothing like that with Micheál Martin. He doesn't give a shit. Backwards looking at your sovereignty, just to say. But it is But I have to say, there's not many politicians who would say such a thing, because the Irish government at the moment, in terms of what Zelensky said, or him and Horan, they're not giving a proper answer. They're not like, it's like pretty much what she's saying is delusional, what he's saying. Which is totally right, he is delusional, Zelensky, if he thinks that the Irish people are willing to give up their Irish army that served them well for the last 100 years. I'm not willing to give it up. I'm sure the majority of Irish people are not willing to give it up for the European Union. And I'm sure if we asked the Irish people that, they would say the same. But anyway, Sanna Maher really outdoing herself here in terms of that. But yeah, it is right, everything she says. It's good the environment. Basically, but in this town, the civilians, how the environment has changed. It's good the environment has changed compared to the last war 80 years ago, because it's technology now. Technology's advanced something fierce in terms of technology, or drones, etc., warfare. And threats will be able to defend our democracies and our values and the rules, pretty much the rule-based international order. But she's totally right in that. She's totally right compared to Micheál Martin. But anyway, And then what she said in Dublin too, I think it's worrying for smaller nations like Ireland that we don't have the proper means to defend ourselves. And basically, yeah, that's what she said in Dublin when I was there at the time. But she's 100% right. She's 100% right compared to me, her Martin. But anyway, we need to be able to defend ourselves. That's the main point I'm saying. And that's the main thing I've been literally saying for the last 10 years. Because I've said it for a long, long time. We need to be able to defend ourselves. We don't need NATO. We don't need any other country. We need ourselves. That's all. It's ourselves alone. We're only a small island in the world, but we can do what we can to defend our sovereignty, defend our history, defend our culture. But there needs to be a will. And there needs to be a will at the top in terms of this Queen. That's what we need. We need people who are willing to defend the state, who are willing to invest, who are willing to give the men and women of Oakleigh and Heron a proper wage. And that's the main thing. That's the main thing with the Irish Defence Force, and then the numbers will increase. Because we need that number of 15,000 troops, or even on the level of 20,000, I would nearly argue at this point. But that's what I say, so let me know what you think, and subscribe more, and bye.